First in high definition from the station on your side, this is WAVY News 10.
In sickness and in health, sacred marriage vows. But evangelist Pat Robertson advised a man to divorce his wife suffering from Alzheimer's. You'll hear reaction and saying goodbye to a local piece of history. The emotional farewell for Fort Monroe. Plus, strangers saved his life.
How you doing, Brandon?
I'm alive, man. How you doing?
And now you'll hear from the man pulled from this fiery crash. Those stories in a moment, but first, a drastic drop in temperature.
Yes, a cold front will cause the mercury to nosedive tonight. 10 on your side, Chief Meteorologist Don Slater is tracking the plunge in the Super Doppler 10 Weather Center. Don, is it time to turn the heat on?
Not quite yet, but I think tonight some of us might have to at least throw an extra blanket on because it's going to get a little cooler overnight. Here's a look at what's going on. Number one, we've got thunderstorms arriving with some of this, and we did have a warning for Gloucester and Matthews County that was canceled a little bit early because the heaviest of the action has now moved on out over Mobjack Bay and into the southern Chesapeake Bay. We'll take a look at what's going on within this rain. A lot of lightning out of this, and you can see again the bulk of this is out over the water or very, very near the water, a little bit over the Guinea Neck area, but again, even for the York County area, Goodwin Neck estate's getting heavy rain, but the worst of it's still out over the water, and you can see some action toward Fort Eustis, dropping toward Oyster Point. Farther out to the west, it becomes a little bit more scattered, but nonetheless, we've still got a chance some thunderstorms as this cooler air moves on in. Now, you'll note current temperature readings, 90 degrees. Where we're going to be tomorrow morning, 53, 59, 45, 55 way out west. During the day tomorrow, high temperatures only in the mid to upper 60s through the area. And Sunday, not all that, or excuse me, Saturday, not all that much warmer than that. We'll have a complete forecast. Update Super Doppler 10 live for you. Talk about this cooler air moving in just a few minutes.
He's a religious broadcaster, but some viewers think that Pat Robertson's latest comments were hypocritical. The chairman of the Christian Broadcasting Network said he could understand divorce if someone's partner had Alzheimer's disease. At one point, Robertson referred to Alzheimer's patients as the walking dead. The comments have obviously stirred up controversy. 10 on your side's Melanie. Woodrow stopped by the Alzheimer's Association in Norfolk this afternoon and has one man's story. Melanie?
Well, Tom, at the Alzheimer's Association, people we spoke with are much more concerned with providing support to families enduring this hardship than they are with passing judgment. As one spouse explained to me, this is not a cookie-cutter disease. Bob and Mary Fanning spent a lifetime together. Their courtship began when Bob was in high school.
I saw her for the first time, and I went, whoa.
Bob never dated another girl.
She was it.
They were married 56 beautiful years. In 2001, their love was tested. Doctors diagnosed Mary with Alzheimer's disease.
In the beginning, she could still function, drive a car, bake cakes. Then she started making cakes and leaving out things out of the recipe, complaining of not having friends anymore, even though they came around.
Eventually, Bob put Mary in a nursing facility.
It was just a long, slow decline.
Bob visited Mary daily and even began leading support groups for other spouses, often hearing the same questions.
How do I deal with it? How can I handle it? This is a difficult situation. But I've never run across anybody that thought, I'd like to get rid of them and go on elsewhere.
Which may be why Pat Robertson's recent comments on the Christian Broadcast Network shocked some.
I know it sounds cruel, but if he's going to do something, he should divorce her and start all over again.
Life doesn't end with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's.
The Alzheimer's Association's Director of Education and Family Services does not believe that Robertson meant it as a blanket statement. Bob Fanning said he's not sure he'd be able to answer a question like it. He just knew for himself leaving was never an option.
It was a wonderful life, and I don't regret 1 minute spending all my time taking care of her. It seemed like the right thing to do. I thought, this is not the person that I married, but I still love her.
And he still loves her to this day, even though Mary passed away last year. We reached out to CBN. A spokesperson said that at this time, Mr. Robertson had no further comments or statement to make. In the newsroom, Melanie Woodrow, 10 on your side.
Well, as you can imagine, Pat Robertson's comments generated a lot of traffic on WAVY's Facebook page. One woman said, quote, "He got the disease himself because he has forgotten his scripture," end quote. This is from Zahra, quote, "It is to death do us part, not let's get rid of people when they need us the most." Tom says that I took care of my wife till she died. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, according to the vow we made between us and God, end quote.
Fort Monroe now belongs to the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Army decommissioned the historic fort this morning by order of BRAC, the Base Closure and Realignment Commission. 10 on your side, Stephanie Harris takes us to the emotional event.
Just take a look behind me. This is the largest stone wall fort ever built in U.S. history. Most of us read about it in books in school, but most of the people sitting in these bleachers today, for them, this place is about more than bricks and mortar. This is where they built careers, where they built their families, their lives. In true military fashion, soldiers went about the business of closing Fort Monroe with stone faces and precision moves. But the eyes don't lie, and you can hear the sadness in the narrator's voice.
The BRAC Commission announced that Fort Monroe would close by today, September 15th, 2011.
Chuck Valiant first came to Fort Monroe as a young major in 1973. He has spent more than half his life here.
I think about all the friends and everything we've had here over the years, and I tend to be a little weepy on occasion. My wife says I have a tender heart.
And today, it is breaking. Not because he fears the future, he believes Virginia will preserve the history.
We love this place. You know, I got personal connections here. I remember it from my early days as an Army officer, and I really want to make sure now that we've got the stewardship of the place that we do it right.
The heart of Fort Monroe will live on, but its soul, the colors under which it fought, are gone.
They'll never be flown again. And that's what was sad about today.
So as the Army closes the door at Fort Monroe, it is open to the general public. There will still be people here in the interim to direct traffic, but you no longer have to show your ID at the gate. You're free to go on and enjoy the Casemates Museum, the fishing pier, or Continental Park. Stephanie Harris, 10 on your side.
There is growing political momentum to have part of Fort Monroe designated a national park. Other parts will be available for commercial use, but the governor says any business must be respectful and only approved after considerable public input.
Well, a 10 on your side viewer used reported at wavy.com for this, a picture of a car fire in Newport News. Looks pretty serious. State police say it happened about an hour ago. This is southbound 664, about a half mile from the Monitor-Merrimack Bridge Tunnel, but no one was hurt. Investigators want to know how a fire started in Portsmouth. It chased a father and daughter from the house late last night. It all began on the front porch on Marshall Avenue just before midnight. And the fire did damage a room attached to the porch, and smoke damaged the inside. The fire marshal talked to neighbors to see if they saw anything suspicious. The two people who live here weren't hurt, and the Red Cross is helping them tonight.
A North Carolina woman charged in her stepdaughter Zahra Baker's death reached a deal with prosecutors.
Do you now plead guilty to second-degree murder? Do you plead guilty to obstructing justice?
In addition to second-degree murder and obstruction of justice, Elisa Baker also pleaded guilty to bigamy and obtaining property by false pretenses. Authorities charged Baker last year with killing 10-year-old Zahra. Zahra wore a prosthetic leg and hearing aids after a struggle with bone cancer. Police found the little girl's dismembered body in 2 different counties. An autopsy could not determine an exact cause of death. Elisa Baker faces up to 18 years behind bars.
Damage from Hurricane Irene forcing military families from their homes. You're going to find out why officials say staying is a risk to their health. That's new at 5:30.
And a survivor story. Hear from the man rescued by strangers from underneath this burning car. We'll tell you why the lifesavers left the victim in the middle of the road, too.
And the Postal Service says it needs to make big changes to slash billions of dollars from the bottom line. How it plans to still deliver.
You're watching WAVY News 10 at 5 with Tom Schaad, Nicole Livas, and Super Doppler 10 Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
Neither rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor massive debt will stop the U.S. Postal Service, but the latter may cost 35,000 jobs. This comes from a plan from the Postal Service that could close 250 mail processing facilities nationwide. It also may reduce mail delivery to 5 days a week and close 3,700 post offices. Facilities in Hampton Roads, they are on that list.
If we're going to return to profitability, we've got to have legislation that allows us to be flexible in the way we manage this organization.
Oh, the Postal Service wants to open something called village post offices in communities without a post office. They would be operated by local businesses such as pharmacies and grocery stores. You can find more information about the Postal Service's plan on WAVY.com's local news page.
In our economy, unemployment lines aren't getting any shorter. The Labor Department says first-time jobless claims shot up again last week to about 428,000. That's the highest level since late June. Economists say applications need to fall consistently to 375,000 or below to substantially bring down the unemployment rate. Coming up tonight at 5:30, we're on your side with Speaker of the House John Boehner's plan to get Americans back to work. More homeowners are falling behind on their mortgage payments. RealtyTrack says foreclosure filings went up 7% in August. The report shows 1 in every 570 homes in the U.S. is in some stage of foreclosure. Nevada, California, and Arizona housing markets continue to be the hardest hit. There is some good news, though. Foreclosure filings are down from this time last year.
The man trapped underneath this burning car, rescued by strangers. We are hearing from him, and you'll hear what he has to say to the people who risked their lives to save his, and how this whole ordeal has changed everything.
And a close call for customers. Hear from the manager who couldn't believe his eyes when a car came barreling through this bike shop.
Customers at a California bike shop, yeah, they had to scramble when that Cadillac crashed through the front door. 2 customers, one on crutches, jumped out to avoid getting hit. Wow, that's an amazing shot. The car careened through the store, went all the way to the back wall. Police say an 85-year-old woman was parking in the handicap spot in the front of the store when, yes, she hit the gas instead of the brake.
It was one of the loudest things I think I'd ever heard. I mean, it was like a war zone. I mean, it was just all the product that she was hitting and all the racks. I mean, it was just explosions. When she hit the back wall, she actually kept the accelerator down, and she burned a huge hole in the floor, causing the whole store to fill with smoke.
Wow, through all this, no one was seriously hurt, and the store reopened the next day.
The motorcyclist who was heroically rescued from a fiery crash Monday in Utah says he's anxious to meet those people who risked their lives to save his. 10 on your side's Chris Clackham also tells us why those superheroes rescued Brandon Wright, then walked away.
This was how the saving of Brandon Wright began Monday in Logan, Utah, captured on video by an office worker in a nearby building. And as the video shows, just seconds after Wright grounded his motorcycle to avoid a collision with a black BMW and slid under the burning vehicle, bystanders quickly formed a rescue team to lift the car and pull him to safety.
How you doing, Brandon? I'm alive, man. How you
This
doing?
was Brandon today at the hospital near Salt Lake City, where he's being treated for several broken bones and where he wanted his rescuers recognized.
Just wanted to thank all the heroes that put their lives on the line to save mine.
Wright hasn't met any of his rescuers yet and doesn't know what he'll say when he does, but is already clear about his fate.
I should have died when I hit the pavement. I should have died when I hit the car. I should have died when the car burst into flames. But I didn't for some reason, and I mean, that just makes life that much more precious to me. It's just not something I really plan on wasting.
Several of his rescuers have come forward to explain how police instructed them to back away after the rescue because an explosion was still possible, and to downplay the description of hero.
It's neat, I guess, that people are making such a big deal of it, but I don't quite get it.
They should get used to it. They're definitely heroes.
Wright's physical recovery will take months, but doctors say he's already there mentally. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
Brandon has a broken femur and tibia, a back injury, some burns on a foot, and road rash. He was not wearing a helmet and amazingly did not receive any head injuries. In Utah, they are only required for motorcycle riders under the age of 18.
Now, in high definition, your Super Dapper 10 forecast with Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
And a look at what's going on into the area, and there's a lot going on, so let's dive right in, see what's going on in terms of thunderstorms that are really announcing this cooler air dropping on in. We're going to see a pretty decent temperature drop as these move on through the region. It's 72 in Newport News, but that's mainly because of the rain right now. Might pop back up a couple of degrees, but then continue to drop later on. We did have a warning in effect for Gloucester and Matthews County. It was dropped a little bit early because the storms weakened and or moved on out over the water. Here's what's going on in terms of lightning. We've got around 350 lightning strikes on the screen here in the past 5 minutes. We move on up to the Middle Peninsula and especially over Matthews County, anywhere just south of the town of Matthews, Onemo, and then on toward Gloucester County, and we are seeing some fairly hefty rain going on there. But some of the bigger rain is over Fort Eustis, across the river into Surrey County, and especially over Poquoson right now. Now, we've got no warnings in effect. Obviously, some heavy rain going on, and really the stuff over Poquoson now and into Hampton, and likely to move through parts of Hampton, is likely to move on out over the bay here coming up in just a little while, within about the next 15-20 minutes. This action, again, is right on into here. You can see it across to Chip Oaks Plantation, Poolsville, and then across to about Fort Eustis. We are seeing some scattered rainfall there, but not as much lightning out of that one. Then hit or miss lightning and thunderstorms all the way back to I-95 and beyond. That is the big picture right on into here. We're going to see some of these scattered thunderstorms, isolated, severe, possible, but the biggest story going on is the fact that we're going to see things cool on down. We got to cover what's going on with Maria. Maria, as of 5 o'clock, is a hurricane, 75-mile-an-hour winds and motoring on away, moving to the north-northeast at 36 miles an hour, and it's going way out off into the North Atlantic, and it's not going to hit anybody. So again, that thing is pretty well gone. But the cold front, it's knocking on the door. That cold front is going to come crashing through the door here in the next couple of hours, 2-3 hours into the area. Here's what's going on by 7 o'clock. Here's where the cold front is. Right now, it's obviously advancing through the peninsula. By 9 o'clock in the evening, here's where it is. And then we'll take it through time. Now, you'll note the winds 20-30 miles an hour at 9 o'clock, 20 to 25 at 2 o'clock in the morning. The cold front is gone. It's dropped southward. We might see a little sunshine coming up for the first part of the day for tomorrow, across Virginia anyway, and then the winds finally drop on off by the end of the day. Now we move into Saturday, and we start seeing hit or miss, very, very light rain showers into the air. It's not going to be a total washout, but I do think we are going to see some rainfall into the area for Saturday. Hot stuff for today. It was around 90 degrees again for today. Here comes the cloud cover moving on in. And again, you can see temperatures very, very close to 90 degrees throughout the area after a high of 91. And what do we got coming up for tomorrow? 68. So we're 23 degrees cooler for tomorrow. Saturday, a chance of scattered rain, slight chance of rain Sunday, a little recovery next week.
All right, folks, cantaloupe concerns. We're on your side with an important recall. We'll tell you why you shouldn't eat cantaloupes that come from a certain place.
An historic day in Washington. For the first time in 40 years, a Marine is awarded the nation's highest honor, and he lived to tell the story. We'll explain his connection to Virginia Beach at 5:30. 10 on your side, time-saver traffic alerts. The Gilmerton Bridge on Military Highway in Chesapeake will close overnight. Crews are shutting down the span at 8 tonight for a construction phase that should last into 2012. It'll reopen at 5 tomorrow morning. Drivers should use the I-64 high-rise bridge or the 264 downtown tunnel as alternate routes. Then Sunday morning at 6 a.m., the high-rise bridge will close for about 3 hours. Crews will perform maintenance. During that time, drivers should use the downtown tunnel or Gilmerton Bridge instead.
10 on your side, consumer alert now, because cantaloupes from a southeastern Colorado farm may be contaminated with listeria. The Centers for Disease Control says several people have died. Dozens more have gotten sick from cantaloupes linked to Jensen Farms. The melons were shipped between July 29th and September 10th. They were sold under the Rocky Ford brand in 17 states including North Carolina. We have information about this recall on WAVY.com's On Your Side page.
This isn't the old school easy bake oven we used to play with. Hear why the toy maker was forced to make changes to the classic toy.
And Speaker Boehner expected to reveal his plan to get Americans back to work, but not without criticizing the president's American Jobs Act, why he's calling it a poor substitute for growth. That's next at 5:30.
The emergency ferry here at Rodanthe filling up. 10 on Your Side has now been to Rodanthe, surveyed the damage. Coming up tonight on WAVY News 10 at 6, we'll show you the damage. We'll show you exactly what's going on Highway 12 to repair the breaches in the road, and we will give you some stories about people who have lost a lot. That story coming up tonight on WAVY News 10 at 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hi, check. All right.
So the new roll
Stupid
cue.
chair.
Walmart is working on a big women's initiative. The company plans to buy $20 billion worth of products from female-owned businesses in the U.S. over the next 5 years. Women around the world will also be trained to work in factories and retail. This follows a failed attempt in 2001 by female workers to sue Walmart for discrimination. A classic popular children's toy got a makeover. The Easy Bake Oven now has a real heating element inside. It replaces that 100-watt bulb that's baked pies, cakes, and other goodies for nearly 50 years. The government's phasing out the incandescent bulbs, so the CFL bulbs that replace them, well, they don't give off enough heat. Easy Bake Oven is now purple, curvy, with snazzy new graphics. It now resembles a real appliance and not just a plastic toy. I'll take a dozen brownies, please. Stay with us. WAVY News 10 at 5:30 starts right now.